fortune or even fame. Why the wheel is turning, 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 and I'm always yearning for love's precious flame. Oh, wheel of fortune, I'm hoping somehow, if you ever smile on me, please let it be precious flame, oh, wheel of fortune. I'm hoping somehow, if you'll ever smile on me, please let it be now.
That was Rosemary there and Wheel of Fortune, an old K-Star song which Rosemary put her unique take on. And I'm joined here now at the Joe Longthorne MBE Theatre by the lady herself, Rosemary. Rose, welcome to MKB Independent Radio.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Lovely to be here.
Great to have you. So we're here in the Joe Longthorne MBE Theatre in Blackpool, where tonight there is going to be a whole host of artists paying tribute to the great Joe Longthorne.
Yes.
And can you start by telling us a little bit about your memories of Joe and what he meant to you?
Well, this is a massive gala performance in his honour, and I think it's a great honour that the North Pier has been called now the Joe Longthorne Pier, because this is where he loved to perform. This was his favourite place. So yes, I met Joe on the Des O'Connor show many moons ago, and I've lost count. And he was giving up the impressions, and he was wanting to go in do more singing. So this was his first album. So Des O'Connor introduced me to him for the first time, and I said, "Show us your new album." Then we got chatting, and we had wonderful stories to talk about show business and everything. And I felt like I knew him all my life. And I looked at his album, and most of his album was all my songs. I says, "This is like Rosemary's greatest hits," I says. "Joe, these are all my songs." Not that I never wrote them. Songs like When Your Old Wedding Ring Was New and The Answer to Everything, which I'll be doing on the show tonight. And so he says, "Oh, I know Rosemary." I can't do the Hull accent. "I know Rosemary, but I'm such a big fan." What could I say? And from then on, we were inseparable. And so it's great coming back to Blackpool, because this is where my career started. And I moved up from London to be here, and Joe did the same thing, and he lived around the corner from me. So we went everywhere together. We were very, very close.
So I was going to ask you next actually about when you started out. You're originally from Newry, County Down,
That's
but
right.
you kind of went a different route to a lot of the other Irish artists who maybe started out singing in the show bands, people like Joe Dolan.
Yeah,
you went a different
lovely.
way, and you came over to London and made your way through the working men's clubs and here in Blackpool. Can you talk to why you made that big jump?
Well, that's where I started. Daniel, I did not want to be a band singer. And a lot of that, you sing 3 songs and people get up and jive and they do some waltzes and all that. I wasn't that. always thought of myself as a singer entertainer, and you've got to be both if you're going to do the working men's clubs. Because, you know, on a Sunday afternoon they'll be having their pint and reading the Sunday newspaper, not even listening to you. So the humour, I've always had humour anyway, in between songs was very important to me, because to get their attention, you know, and I remember I used to carry all my speakers in and the whole lot, and I used to pray that there wouldn't be any steps going up to the actual workmen's club. And I remember one time being in Hartlepool, I'll never forget it, and I saw all these steps and I thought, I used to drive myself everywhere. Not anymore, thank goodness. But you didn't think nothing of it. You just wanted to get to the venue, and I was excited to be doing the clubs and starting out, you know. And I saw this guy, and I said, excuse me, you wouldn't mind helping me up the steps with me gear, and I'll buy you a pint. And I won't say the swear word, but he says, I'll buy my own bleeding pint. I'll never forget it. And you changed into your stage clothes in the bathrooms, you know. Yeah. Well, there weren't bathrooms, there were, you know, very grubby toilets. And you know, so it was difficult leaving Ireland at a very young age, and then going into the clubs. But I had a brilliant agent up here called Norman Teal, and he was a Yorkshire man, and but lived in Blackpool. And he saw me on a game show called Punchlines, so I became known for my humour on quiz games before I got a record contract. And he says, if you move out of London, yes, I'm doing, you saying, did the workmen's clubs. I never done pubs, but sort of like workmen's clubs even in London. So he says, I seen you on Punchlines and you were very funny and the whole lot. He says, but if you move up to Blackpool, I'll make sure you're never out of work. He says, I can't say I'll make you a star, but he says, I'll make sure you're never out of work. And that was it. He took care of my career in Blackpool. This is where it all started, and it's so lovely to be back again.
And your first big hit was an Irving Berlin hit, When I Leave the World Behind, which was originally an Al Jolson record, which Bing Crosby also recorded. But there's an interesting story about that, about a famous friend of yours who made the record happen, isn't there?
Well, it was recorded first of all by the old street singer Arthur Tracy. Now there's something you learned today. And he became famous singing on the streets. But yes, I did my first pantomime in Belfast with Frank, and he was just brilliant. I adored him. And of course Frank was living up here too, not at that time, but he's lived a few places. But he says, you should have a hit record. He says, I see you on these game shows, and you're now doing all the theatres and everything. Why don't you sort of get recording? And I says, well, I've got the song When I Leave the World Behind. That's the song I want to do, because I'd heard Bing Crosby singing it. And he said, he says, I know a guy called Barney Eastwood, and he was a boxing promoter, looked after Barry McGuigan and that there. And he says, it's a good friend of mine. I'll see if he'll put up the money, and we'll get you into a studio, and we'll get that song recorded. And to cut a long story short, I went back to, and I was asked to go on the Chaz and Dave show, and I sang it on the Chaz and Dave show, and the switchboards was jammed. People wanted to know where to get the song, and I had my choice of several record companies. So that was the song that started it all, you know, and I still have it in my act. People always ask for it, you know. It's a story about a man sitting on a bench, and he doesn't have any money and all these worldly goods. All he's got to do is just give of himself. He doesn't have any money, doesn't have anything. So it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, and a lot of the recordings you've made over the years have been these kind of old standards from the 1930s and the 1940s, and all of your records more or less have gone platinum or higher. And yet we see that a lot of the big commercial stations today, like RTE and the BBC, aren't really making much time for that music anymore. Do you think that's something that needs to change? And has it become more difficult over the years to get the airplay on the bigger stations?
Well, I don't do as older songs now, because everybody can get them on Spotify, Amazon, and on all the places and everything. And of course they're all very popular at my concerts. But my last album, which I did with Andy Mudd, who's the musical director, well, he was for Joe Longthorne, and he's mine as well. He used to fluctuate between the two of us. So he produced my album, My Gift of Love for You, and I did a Sam Smith. I still did some of the old ballads, like I'm doing Halfway to Paradise tonight, and The Answer to Everything. So I kept the big ballads, the torch songs, you know, but I threw in an Adele number and threw in a Sam Smith number and Kenny Live. So I mixed it up a wee bit, and I got a lot of airplay on it. And it depends on the station. You know, they'll want to play it to see if I singing Stay With Me, the Sam Smith number, to see what way I'm, you know, what type of version am I doing of it. But yes, they're still popular, but I don't think there is enough stations, to answer your question, that caters for people who love that style of songs. And you see, you can always bring them back as long as you don't copy the original artist. I think the secret is, which I've always done, good arrangements, and then make them your own style. Don't copy anybody, and I think that's the secret. Yeah. And you played Wheel of Fortune there. I haven't heard it. I haven't sung that in years. So you know, your listeners hopefully will have enjoyed that. Kay Starr was a big star, wasn't she?
Well, we're going to take another track from you now, and this is another one of those great old standards. This is You'll Never Know, which I think was originally a Joe Stafford song, and of course it was popularised again recently when it was featured in the Oscar-winning movie Shape of Water by Madeleine Peru. So this is Rosemary and You'll Never Know.
You'll never know just how much I miss you. You'll never know just how much I care. And if I tried, I just couldn't hide my love for you. No, oh, haven't I told you so? A million or more times you went away and my heart went with you. I speak your name in my every prayer. There's nothing in my life, my darling, now you're gone. You've taken everything that meant anything at all. I long for yesterday. You said you needed me when we were so in love. How could it happen? happen so suddenly. There's nothing in my life, nothing in my life, only I still love you, and so much emptiness. Somehow I can't forget. They say I love again, but no love could be like yours. There's nothing in my life right now. There's nothing in my life. There's nothing in my life right now. There's nothing in my life, only I still love you, but now you're gone. There's nothing in my life.
Two great tracks from Rosemary back to back there. We started off with You'll Never Know, an old standard which Rosemary put her own unique take on, and then we continued on with There's Nothing in My Life, a more contemporary ballad there which some of you might not know but we still feature plenty on the programme here. And the next thing I wanted to ask you, Rosemary, was when you look at where record shops maybe place your CDs, you know you'll often be next to the likes of Daniel O'Donnell and Foster and Allen, and somebody that wouldn't be au fait with your music would place you there. But there's a different side to Rosemary as well, where you've rocked out the Janis Joplin stuff, and
Yes.
You've been known for the black leathers, and there was the story back in the day when one of the theatres wouldn't carry up
Nothing's
because it was
changed.
considered too raunchy. So I think what I wanted to ask you was, have you ever wanted to go more down the kind of the rock diva route, and is also which side of your personality is more like the Rosemary offstage?
Well, I love a good laugh. I'm always trying to make people laugh, you know. And I love to mix it up a wee bit. I mean, I'm still wearing very short mini skirts on stage, and, you know, very funky boots, you know, rather than shoes. And I recently played a rock singer who was the best friend of Eva Cassidy. I had that role in the Eva Cassidy musical. So I got to rock it out in leathers and boots and all that there. So there is a bit of me. I love up-tempo songs. I mean, one of the popular songs in my concerts is These Boots Are Made for Walking. And it's like Les Dawson. I was on his BBC variety show, and I had it out as a single, and of course I had a little jacket on and a wee short skirt and boots. And Les Dawson, first of all, before he introduces me, he says to the audience, we got a turn coming on here. He says, she has a voice that would warn shipping in the Solent, you know, where all the ships come in. And it's not a frock she's wearing, it's a pelmet. You know, the thing that's over across the curtains. A lot of people wouldn't know what a pelmet is, but elderly people would. And that was my introduction, and I sang These Boots Are Made for Walking. So I rocked it, and I love to move on stage. So I'm, you know, I could never sit down all the time. I always sit down for one particular song, Sweet 16. And getting on and off the stool. Now I always get somebody in the audience to come up on the stage and help me on the stool. Of course I could jump on the stool, no problem. But yes, so I do like to mix it up. I mean, you were talking about Janis Joplin there, Piece of My Heart, and which I love, and you know that there's a few songs that won't even come to my mind now. But yes, I love Tina Turner. I love doing you call me when I need you, my heart's on fire, dun 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 dun. So yes, I love Tina Turner, I love Cher, and they're still rocking it, and they're a lot older than me.
So the next thing I wanted to ask you, one of your colleagues in Ireland, Mary Duff, recently gave an interview where she was talking about how there's often a lot of inequality in the music industry, where for female artists you'll often be judged by the press not just on your performance but on how you present on stage, whether you've got makeup on, whether you're in someone's company. And we've seen in the past certain women in the music industry have been attacked relentlessly by the press. Back in the day, Dorothy Squires, and then more recently Amy Winehouse. So I wanted to ask you, as a woman who's been incredibly successful in the music industry, not just in the UK and Ireland, but also in the power capitals of Vegas and LA, what would your perspective be on that?
Well, I've had my fair share of good and bad press, you know, but I think I never take it too seriously, and of course it'll be regurgitated over and over again, but all you've got to do is laugh these things off. I mean, I used to tell lies to all the press about my age, you know, and I used to sort of take, I think I take 10 years off my age. How am I looking today? And so this journalist one time from the Daily Mirror, he was doing an interview, and he'd interviewed me several times, and he says, "Now, how old are we today? Or how old are we, Rosemary?" And I says, just take another couple of years off, you know. And your personal life does come into to the press as well. And but I've never found it done me any harm personally, you know. And I think humour is, if you take everything too seriously, you're going to be boring. Do you know what I mean? So I'll always come out with something very Irish or something. You know what I mean? You know, I say things like, I only come out to buy a loaf of bread and a pint of milk, and you picked on me. You know, so pick on someone your own size. So something like that there. Any sort of a gag, or I'll switch it around. But yes, of course I've had press that's good and press that's not the greatest, but I never cried over it at all. Maybe that's yet to come.
So we mentioned there that you spent a lot of time in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and someone who became a big fan of you while you were out there was John Travolta, Mr.
Yes.
Grease Lightning. How did that come about?
Well, I studied acting over there because I couldn't do any concerts because you had to wait till you get your visa. And I was in LA, I lived in LA before, just where the Hollywood sign is, and I'd go out onto my balcony and there was the Hollywood sign. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And it was a lovely apartment, I loved it. And I loved living in LA, so I studied acting, went to acting school while I was waiting on my visa. But then what they do out there, they call it networking. Everybody goes to showbiz parties, not everybody. A lot of showbiz parties, lunches, and you never know who. I went to the SAG Awards, which is awards for women in film. And you need to know, and everybody loves the Irish. You get invited to everything. So I met John Travolta, Tony Curtis, Deborah Kerr, and not Deborah Kerr, she used to play Vegas, I've forgotten herself, Debbie Reynolds, to name a few. And Kelly Brook came to my concerts when I started to do concerts, and a lot of people like Lorna Luft and that there, but John Travolta was just fabulous, and he just wanted to know all about Ireland and everything, but also his sense of humour matched mine. And I'd come out with all these Irish sayings, and I sort of said, God, you know, I'd love to work with you, John. Tell me who's a good agent. And he put me in touch with a lot of people. Such a lovely guy. And you find that people, when they know, well, number one, if they know you're Irish, because they all seem to have a grandfather, or great-grandfather, or grandmother that's half Irish, or they'll all come out with that. And so I think there again, humour, and any place that I went to, if I could see a microphone, you get up and just do a song, or you just do it a cappella. I love singing a cappella. And so he was lovely, spent a lot of time in my company, or I spent a lot of time with him, and of course he was wonderful. That's the thing about living in LA and Hollywood, you know. Hollywood was my address, and I was lucky to get the apartment I got. But you never know who you're going to bump into. It's just, or at the parties, you have to be seen well dressed, looking good and your sense of humour, and if you get a chance to sing or show you, you know, it was through my singing I got into the acting school, and it was where they made Halle Berry famous, the School of Acting, Halle Berry, they named it after. And they pair you with some stranger, and you have to, they give you a script, and you've got to go in and get the props and everything, and you've got to, but it was through my singing that I got into that school, which was one of these it was the top of the range acting school. So yeah, it was a good learning curve for me. I never decided that I would stay too long, you know, but I got it out of my system, and I got the Vegas out of my system as well.
So it's a great honour for me to be interviewing, because I've been a fan going back to when my grandparents had your records, going back to when I was this high. And the first time I ever saw you in concert was at one of the big Box You Drop events in the Canal Court in Newry, which Susan McCann used to organise. And I remember that night, you went on stage and you had so much energy that you just sort of put everyone to shame and no one wanted to follow you.
You're just being nice now, Daniel.
So my question coming from that is, where do you get that Rosemary energy from?
Well, you know, I get asked that question an awful lot, and when I'm doing the concerts in the big theatres, the one question, the person who's selling my merchandise and when my agent's there, both people, the one thing people want to know, how old is Rosemary? What is she on? Where does she get her energy? But, you know, I'm very lucky. I power walk every single day. I've given up the gym since COVID, you know, and I think walking's the best exercise. My sister does a lot of running, but I power walk. Nobody can keep up with me. And I'm always, I before I go on stage, I would never eat anything. I certainly don't have a drink, and I never drink one of days off, and then I'll have a nice glass of Prosecco, like you do, and I'll have a glass of Guinness in Ireland, but because I like to keep the weight down, I like my stage clothes to fit me, and it's a natural energy, and I dread the day that it goes, but so far, you know, I'm going to put a bit in tonight, but mostly it's ballads tonight, but I'll do a little river dance, you know, to make the audience laugh, you know. And yeah, I'm blessed, you know. I could never stand on stage with a microphone and just stand there and sing. Sorry about that. That's we're at a dress rehearsal.
Lastly, I want to ask you. You've recently moved back to your native Northern Ireland, and you've got a great new manager in Robin Elliott, who's very well connected in the Irish scene. Yes. Does that mean that your Irish fans can expect to see more from you in the near future?
Well, we obviously had to cancel a tour. A lot of it was in Northern Ireland and in London, but for all the Hastings hotels. And it's such a shame, but we're gonna do it now next year. And it is a chance to connect with my Irish fans, you know, because I just have to sort of like, he lives in Belfast, but I'm still over in London a lot, and I'm here in Blackpool. I mean, I've been asked to do some Facebook and YouTube stuff here in the Joe Longthorne Museum, and Jamie, who was Joe's manager, has said to me, I've got some ideas that I'd like you to do a show a month in Joe Longthorne's museum, so I only got told that today. So that's very exciting news. That's a wee scoop for you now. You got that scoop? And anybody who listens to your wonderful show should come to Blackpool and get on the Joe Longthorne Pier and go and see the museum. It's a room of all his memorabilia and photographs and everything, so, you know.
That's fantastic, and we certainly recommend coming down to Blackpool.
Pardon, love?
So we certainly recommend coming down to Blackpool to visit the Joe Longthorne Museum. So Rosemary, I just want to thank you for taking the time to
You're welcome. Today. That's PJ Proby. That's PJ Proby singing. So I mean, there you go. What more can I say?
So anytime there's anything we can help you with on MKB Radio, please do get in touch with us.
Thank you, Daniel.
And we're going to play out now with the song you mentioned earlier in the interview. This is your version of Sam Smith's Stay With Me.
Oh, brilliant!
Guess it's true, I'm not good at a one-night stand, but I still need love, you're a special man. These nights never seem to go to plan. I don't want you to leave, will you hold my hand? Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. This ain't love, it's clear to see. But darling, stay with me. Why am I so emotional? No, it's not a good look, gain some self-control. Deep down I know this never works, but you can lay with me so it doesn't hurt. Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. This ain't love, it's clear to see. But darling, stay with me. Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. This ain't love, it's clear to see. But darling, stay with me. Oh, won't you stay